Hi everyone, it's Ileana, and I'm going to be making a card using the Concord 9th Wreath Turnabout stamp. Before we get started, I'm going to show you this template that I made. I took an old piece of 6x6 pattern paper and I've just drawn some lines from corner to corner and created a template. This is the turntable. This is what I'm going to use to line up my stamp. The back of the packaging of the Wreath Turnabout stamp has a guide on how to line things up. I've taken the diagonal lines that are on the packaging and I've just extended them all the way out. Now I was able to line up the packaging with the turntable that I created. So now that everything's lined up and I have my stamp centered, I'm able to pick up my stamp. Now to add the cardstock to the front, I've just added some Post-it tape, and the Post-it tape is on the edge of both sides. So if you see the overhang, you're able to kind of center the cardstock on the turntable. I'm just cleaning off my stamp because this is a brand new stamp and I want to make sure that I don't have any residue. This isn't really typical of me. Normally, I make a card first and then I go back and shoot the video for it. So right now, this is kind of just going with the flow. So I've taken some Gina K Plum Punch ink, and it's from her latest release. I'm taking my tidy towel and I'm just going to clean in between changing colors. The next color I'm going to use is Coral Reef. Every time you change colors, you want to rotate your turntable. You want to rotate it in the same direction each time, otherwise you're going to stamp over something you've already done. The third color I'm going to be using is Lucky Clover. See, I've given myself a reminder so I know what color is coming up next. And then my final color is this beautiful dark teal, and it's called Tranquil Teal. And I don't want to stamp anything twice because it does intensify the colors. So I'm being really careful on how I stamp my image so that I don't have to stamp everything twice. Now, I mentioned before that I hadn't made this card before, so I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants here, and I'm trying to decide where I want to go with this card. And I want to do some ink blending. In order for me to do some ink blending, I need to protect the colors that I've already put down. And so I am going to add some VersaMark ink, and you do have to rotate it each time just to cover everything up. And then I will add my embossing powder. That will seal all of the color underneath that layer of embossing powder, and I'm able to do some ink blending without ruining the beautiful colors below. With the clear embossing powder, and I am using Brutus Monroe ICICLE, it does intensify the colors underneath that coating. And that's another reason why I didn't want to stamp everything twice with the ink colors. Now that I have my embossing powder heat set, I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending. I'm going to take another Gina K color. This is Sea Glass. And I'm just going to blend starting from the center, going all the way out. I'm going in a circular motion, and then eventually I change directions and I start in the middle and then I just pull the color away from the middle out. And that kind of creates a gradient look. It just starts off deep in the middle and then lightens as it goes out. Now I'm taking the confetti die set and I'm just going to use this little rickrack edged die, and I'm just going to cut it out with my die cutting machine. Once it's all done, I'm going to add this to a Tranquil Teal card base, and I'm just going to score it with my score buddy. I really do like using this bone folder because when you crease everything down, it doesn't leave a shiny part, and so I really do love this bone folder. Now I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do from this point. So I'm trying to decide whether I want to do a label, which I love putting labels on my card. And I've decided to try this one from the You're My Person stamp set. I have had the stamp set for a while and I've never used it. So this is the first time I've ever pulled this out to use. I've taken a scrap piece of paper and I've just added it to the top corner of my MISTI. I love having two corners because you can always keep something lined up at the bottom and use that top corner for your sentiments or stuff like this. So it's really helpful to have the two corners. Now, the sentiment, I stamped it with VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink. It does stay wet a little bit longer, and I was able to add some embossing powder and heat set that. I've added some foam to the back of my panel. I did only pull off the center foam strips. That way I'm able to line it up, and then I just reach underneath and pull the strips or the backing off the side pieces. And that way I get it perfectly lined up. Now I need to decide where I want to put my sentiment. I do want to phone mount it, so I'm going to take some of this black foam and I'm just going to cut a narrow strip. Because the sentiment is actually pretty narrow, I do need to kind of cut a really thin strip so that it will hide behind it. I do like to use the black foam when I use dark sentiments like this. Now I need to figure out where I want to line this up. As I said before, this is probably a rare occasion where I actually just decide to film a card and not have a plan in mind. So right now I am putting my card front or my card in my MISTI, and I'm using one of the creative corners to help me line up where I want this sentiment, and I'm trying to figure out where exactly I want this. And I do have a tablet in front of me that shows me if I'm in frame or not, and I like to look at the screen to see if I like the placement of things, so it's really helpful. So if you want to do something similar, then I suggest that you just take a picture of your card and then take a look at it. It really helps change your perspective when you see it from a different angle. Now, I could have stopped here, but I wanted to step it up a little bit, and so I decided that I want to put some glossy accents on some of these berry looking things here. I'm not sure what they are. Uh, and so I randomly just placed them, and then I'm thinking, no, I need to add more. So I decide that I'm just going to do all of them. Uh, I have this very old bottle of glossy accents. I think it's probably about 5 years old, and I have had it forever. It's lasted, I don't know how long. Now, I want to add a few of the Lucy Abrams iridescent jewels, and my little jewel picker has lost its sticky. And so I looked online because I tried to wash it. I tried to clean the tip of it. Nothing worked. It quit working. And I looked online, and the manufacturer recommends that you just clean the tip off and then you run it against some adhesive tape. And that's exactly what I did. I just took my Post-it tape and I just added some sticky to the tip by running it across that. And that is my card for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.